These are the titles and the descriptions that several news outlets went with, covering a story about the fact that Jacob Blake did have a knife in his possession. Do you notice that the titles and these descriptions omit the fact that he had a knife?
Mr. Blake admitted that he had a knife in his possession, and DCI agents, that's the Division of Criminal Investigation, recovered a knife from the driver's side floorboard of Mr. Blake's vehicle.
Good job, protesters, protesting over a felon who was reaching into his car in order to get a knife, and a police officer used deadly force in order to prevent him from getting that weapon. Black Lives Matter basically got everything wrong about this case. They didn't know that the police were called on Jacob Blake. That's why the police were there in the first place.
Then on the evening of Sunday, August 23rd, 2020, Kenosha Police Department officers were dispatched to a residence in the 2800 block of 40th Street after a female caller reported that her boyfriend was present and was not supposed to be on the premises. During the incident, officers attempted to arrest Jacob S. Blake, age 29. Law enforcement deployed a taser to attempt to stop Mr. Blake, but the taser was not successful in stopping him. Mr. Blake walked around his vehicle, opened the driver's side door, and leaned forward. While holding on to Mr. Blake's shirt, Officer Rustin Shesky fired his service weapon 7 times. Officer Shesky fired the weapon into Mr. Blake's back. No other officer fired their weapon. The Kenosha Police Department does not have body cameras, and therefore the officers were not wearing body cameras. The shooting officer, Kenosha Police Officer Rustin Shesky, has been a law enforcement officer with the Kenosha Police Department for 7 years. During the investigation following the initial incident, Mr. Blake admitted that he had a knife in his possession, and DCI agents, that's the Division of Criminal Investigation, recovered a knife from the driver's side floorboard of Mr. Blake's vehicle. A search of the vehicle located no additional weapons. Law enforcement immediately provided medical aid to Mr. Blake, and Flight for Life transported him to Frederick Hospital in Milwaukee. Mr. Blake remains at the hospital. The Division of Criminal Investigation at the Wisconsin Department of Justice is leading this investigation, and it's being assisted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Wisconsin State Patrol, and the Kenosha County Sheriff's Office. All involved law enforcement officers are fully cooperating with DCI during the investigation, and the involved officers have been placed on administrative leave. As I said, this is an ongoing investigation, so that is the extent of the information regarding the facts of this case that we can share at this point. There have been interviews conducted of material witnesses, but the investigation remains ongoing. Under Wisconsin law, in cases in which a person dies in a case in which an officer fired their weapon, the law requires that an independent investigative agency be brought in to conduct the investigation. But in many other cases, the Wisconsin Department of Justice is brought in to conduct an independent investigation as well, and that is what is happening in this case. Our agency is the independent investigating agency. Our job is to gather the evidence as completely and thoroughly as possible and provide that evidence to the District Attorney's Office. I'm joined today by, among others, DA Mike Gravely. Their office then makes the determination about whether charges are filed. So that's the information I can provide right now about this case.
Is alive and he's in the hospital. I hope he gets charged for his crimes.